financial analyst. Financial analyst goes by many names, but there is one thing about this career choice that is unambiguous, that he or she is one of the humblest person in the finance food chain. But the thing about being a financial analyst is that if you want a fascinating career in this, say, like investment banking, like mergers and acquisitions, or wealth management, you have to cut your teeth as an analyst. Keep your nose to the grave and build unshakable foundation for a career in finance. Then it comes to what in the role and responsibility is to be performed by a financial analyst. I'm going to explain about career path for a financial analyst. They are the money market analysts, they are the capital market analysts. So these are the different scope where you can pitch in. The primary objective, I'm telling you, listen carefully. The primary objective is to identify and minimize a company's risk and losses. Other career tracks include security analyst, tax analyst, treasury analyst. It all comes under the umbrella of financial analyst. At a very basic level, an analyst requires a bachelor's degree in business administration or say finance. Although master's degree in this specialization helps a great deal at the entry level. A successful financial analyst is good at critical thinking and has superior analytical and mathematical skill. So guys, the courses which are being recommended, like Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Economic Honors, like Bachelor of Business Administrations, there are a number of courses to begin with at graduation level. Excellence in MS Excel is very important, very crucial. If you survive the first couple of years as financial analyst, I'm telling you about the career progression. If you survive the first couple of years and are passionate about what you are doing, then by all means, you should dream big. But these dreams comes at a stiff price. In this case, more hard work in the form of certifications. Now when it comes to certification, one of the most acclaimed and the most globally accepted certification is CFA. CFA of USA, right? Chartered Financial Analyst. And it is administered by the CFA Institute of the USA. And this is one of the most rigorous program, I say. I must say it is one of the most rigorous program, and it is you can do it while you're pursuing your graduation, like BCom, BSc, even BTech. Guys, a lot of financial analysts you will see that they are coming from the BTech background. So when you are pursuing your graduation in time, you can go for the certification like CFA. It is one of the most rigorous program that involves 3 levels of examination and take around 4 years to master in this. When it comes to what kind of courses are required, as I told you, we should go for the first level, that is a graduation like BA Honors in Economics, BCom Honors, BSc, BTech, and thereafter for the advanced level, after it is always advisable to spend some time in the corporate and then go for the higher education. Then we can go for the MBA, CFA, right? So even you can go for the data analytics course as well. So thank you guys.
Greetings everyone, welcome to Season 2 of Martiniere Career Guidance Cell. Today with us, we have Mr. Gagan Mehrotra, who is an Harvard alumnus. He has deep sense of international financial market and the interlinkages between the various components of financial markets. He specializes in managing international liquid funds, international mortgages, and structuring for efficient banking and wealth planning. Mr. Gagan brings deep industry knowledge and diverse experience of more than 20 years in the fields of corporate advisory, wealth management, private banking, capital advisory, and fintech. Recently, he founded Signap Technologies Private Limited, an open loop payment company in Singapore. Prior to this, Mr. Gagan served as the Executive Director at Standard Chartered Bank Singapore, Executive Director and Senior Private Banker at JP Morgan Chase Bank, Singapore, where he was responsible for managing relations with a diverse client base spread across Singapore, India, and UAE. He was also the cluster head at Cood & Co, Singapore. But more importantly, I'd like to mention that he's an old boy of Martiniere from the batch of 1993.
Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this podcast. It is a pleasure to host you today, and we hope to learn a lot from this episode of the Martiniere Career Fair.
It's a pleasure to speak to the fraternity at the alma mater. Martiniere holds a very sacred place in our heart. This is the place where we grew up and it all started. And we're eternally grateful to the institution. It's indeed an honor to get to speak to you kids, to understand and help you as we can and share our knowledge. Now, I believe we are talking about an understanding of how to build a career as a financial analyst, which may lead into a role in financial services.
Absolutely, sir.
Right. So, Roman, a couple of things before we get into what is the career as a financial analyst. Career in financial analyst does not mean that you are playing with numbers and balance sheet and accounts, right? It is only incidental. What has happened over the last 20 years is that the entire industry has undergone a complete transformation. Today, a financial services job is highly regulated. It is, you are being under the scanner by the regulators across the world. More than that, there is a need for ethics and compliance, which runs very, very deep. To my mind, it is not for someone who's looking to do shortcuts in life. It needs a very meticulous job. It needs in-depth analysis and a need for following certain procedures. So that is, to my mind, the first prerequisite for a person who aims to build a career in being a financial analyst, whether it be in the companies, whether it be in banks, whether it be in asset management, investment banks, or be even as a chartered accountant. So ethical standards, to my mind, are the most important requirement to get into the industry, because if there's ever a slip up, the regulatory compliances can be extremely hard, not only from a perspective that you may never be able to work again, but could also end up in jail. So it is very important that people choose this career and follow it diligently and with honesty.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for clarifying that in the initial beginning of our conversation, sir. We have collected a list of questions which the boys at Martiniere are very eager to know about and learn from prominent alumnus such as you. So the first question that we have for you is that you talked about the different aspects and the prerequisite of being a financial analyst. But could you please help us understand what exactly is the work of a financial analyst and what does this job entail?
See, a financial analyst specialized job, right? And within the sphere of financial analyst, when you say a financial analyst, you mean somebody who's doing number crunching, looking at balance sheets, understanding what's happening in the economy, and trying to, come up with an analysis, right? Where that study can be applicable ranges from many segments within the financial services segment, which can run from sales and trading to private equity, venture capital, hedge funds, to investment banking, asset management, wealth management, transactional banking, compliance and supportive roles, retail banking. Then there are other roles in financial services, as like pure financial analysts and forensics, people who study and analyze things only for the purpose of analysis. You are looking at corporate finance, which means you're working for companies and corporations and planning their capital structures, or even just which are very important, which are accountants and auditors. So this sphere, everyone starts collectively, but as you grow, you need to build a specialization in whichever field that you're going, and that is where it leads to.
So before we move on to understanding what the education goes behind being a financial analyst, could you please help us understand how can a commerce enthusiast figure out if this field is right for them to take up professionally?
Okay, so if you have a flair for commerce, right, and commerce as a broader sense of commerce, not as accounts, right? Second is that if you have an understanding of economics, you have an understanding of you have a flair for numbers and mathematics, right? And very important, you have a flair for computing. That is, to my mind, the best concoction today to build a career in financial services or even as a financial analyst. So basically, to start with this industry, there are four legs to a table for a commerce enthusiast, right? A commerce enthusiast may say that, look, we want to learn business, but there are four key aspects that people have to be mindful of, the kids have to be mindful of. That is, first is commerce is there, but mathematics, economics and commerce, coding and computing, and English skills, right? Now, if you have a flair in understanding, and if you were to draw a Venn diagram of four circles, the intersection of the four circles is what will lead to a financial analyst's role, right? English is important because you need what you've analyzed, you need to be able to present and communicate. Mathematics is important because, it's all about numbers, need to have number crunching skills. Economics is important because you need to understand what is happening in the economies globally and why is what you're analyzing and what is the relevance and what could this lead to, and hence there is a certain element of predictability. Computers and coding is very, very important, and not only computers, coding is very, very important because entire financial analysis is now getting on to is becoming very, very automated through coding. So, a lot of it today, analysts themselves write their own programs into number crunch and to analyze and come up with various variables. So coding is an important skill. And once you have done your, thing, what is important as a master's is that MBA as a master's, it becomes extremely important, right? And MBA should be from a leading institution. Aim for the best. So, Roman, before we get there, I've been overseas for the last 20 years. Been working for almost 24 years. I can firstly tell you is that we as Lamartinian students and as alumni of Lamartiniere, we're all privileged, right? When you guys go out there, please do not assume that you guys are less than anyone else. You must understand that you are stepping out from one of the top 30 schools in Asia, right? In terms of caliber, in terms of the opportunity, in terms of whatever the school has to provide. The other thing you should not forget is that you are probably, there's a batch, which is the current generation, right, are coming out of Lamartiniere when Lamartiniere itself as an institution at its high. I don't mean to rub words, but Carlyle has done a great job. And the entire era is something that you guys are blessed with. If I were to restart, I'd love to be a part of this era, to understand the vibes, right? So firstly, just rest assured from a self-confidence perspective that you are the entire batch, entire school, everyone there is going out with not a chip on the shoulder, but a step ahead of everyone else, right? So aim for the best. When you go out there, when you try for your college, aim for the top colleges, which means and when I say top colleges, I don't mean India. Try internationally. There are colleges available or willing to give grants to people from Lamartiniere. Go aim for that. There are MBAs that you can do from top schools in the world. Please go hit that. So, and do not hold your guys' selves back at all.
So thank you so much for that motivating answer, and I'm very happy that you brought light to the aspect of aiming for the best colleges, because a lot of our students actually wish to go abroad and study, especially a field such as finance. So you talked about going and pursuing education from the prestigious institutions in the entire world. So could you please help us understand what education or professional degree is required to pursue financial analysis, and how can a person make themselves very appealing to the colleges so that they can get selected to the premier institutions of the entire world?
So, a couple of things. There is no shortcut to an SAT score, right? So there is no way you can beat that process. It's a rigorous process that has to be cracked, right? Nobody expects to be in the top to top the SAT globally, but as long as you're the top quartile and at the 90 percentile, you will crack the top of the line colleges, right? Second thing is that the Indian education system, if you say I want to do BCom, BSc, BA, BBA, whatever, it is very, very modular. They will not. It's not modular. They will say that, look, if you want to study commerce, these are the 5 subjects you can do, right? Overseas, it is extremely flexible. If you want to study mathematics, English, economics as a group and with computing, it comes with it, right? If you want to make your resume internationally appealing, what is needed today is that command of English as a language, mathematical skills, strong computing skills. Python, by the time you step out of class 12 out of Lamartiniere, you guys should have a ace on Python, right? Try writing some, even if for the heck of it, try making some apps. It's good fun. You get to understand how business goes about it. Nobody expects you to create a billionaire company, but it will give you guys an understanding of what goes behind the building blocks, right? Then need for economics is a must. So, you can apply anywhere in the world. The standard, and it's a misnomer, right? Today, everybody wants to first go to the US, then they want to go to UK, then they're looking at other destinations in Europe and Australia. I can tell you that that's maybe the standard thinking logical process, but there are grants available from across the world to students, international students who are not from their native countries, right? So, the Americans are most expensive, UK is lesser expensive, but the grants are fewer. there are European institutions which are equally good, and they offer extensive grants. If learning a language is not an issue, and which should not be, it actually over a career will come in handy. The places like China and Japan offer extensive grants to international students to come, but of course the requirement is that you need to learn the language. So obviously you spend first 6-7 months learning the language. So that is there. Second thing is that Australia is a great destination, and to pick up these skills and build a career there, build the education system.
Absolutely, so thank you so much for that.
And if you can crack the top Indian schools like St. Stephen's, Hindu, and the top colleges in India, or even the Ashoka University, these are great institutions to think. So not to undermine the strength of the Indian institutions. Unfortunately, in India, the sheer numbers are so large and the seats are so few that it may become disappointing. But that doesn't need to bother you. Your arena should be the global stage and not just India.
Thank you, sir. You talked about learning computing and second language skills, which are essential to become a good financial analyst. So could you please shed more light into these different aspects?
Correct. Let me explain this to you into a simple thing. First, let's start with computing. See, as I was trying to tell you, is that a lot of variables that were historically studied on Excel sheets, right, today are now being programmed because of into computing programs, right? Predictive modeling and AI is taking computer analysis to the next level, right? Now, that is only possible to participate on that journey if you have computing skills, right? Other financial analysts who are up the curve on computing and you're not, you'll feel left out in your career, right? So it's very important that people build this skill early on. To my mind, knowing English and knowing computing is perhaps the same today. Now let's come to second language. See, business internationally is conducted in 3 languages, right? Broadly. So one is English, right? Second is Chinese. The third is Spanish, right? And let's take Hindi out of the equation. Let's take Russian and other languages, or Portuguese, Japanese out of the equation for the moment, because these are largest trading centers in the world, right? This is where, if you are able to cover, say, with English another language, let's say Chinese or let's say Spanish, you are covering, with English you'll cover 50% or 60% of the world's English-speaking population, but with Spanish you'll control another 10 to 20%. Like if you cover Chinese, then today China is the largest trading partner for anyone in the world, right? So, to build a career in those, and as a counterparty, so even if you work for, say, an Indian bank, an American financial institution, but you do business in China, if you speak Chinese, it makes a lot of difference. If you have to make a presentation where your clients are Chinese, and you may have made the most beautiful present and analysis, if you are not able to deliver and explain your analysis in a language that is easily understood, then that is where the impact happens. So hence, if you need the punch, the second language becomes very, very important. I have often noticed that in India there's a fad to learn language like French and as a second language. I personally feel that in pecking order it should be Mandarin and Spanish.
Okay, so that makes sense. Thank you so much for that. So you talked about the difference. You talked about computing being very necessary. You talked about second language being very necessary. So these are very different things which would help a person to become a better financial analyst. So when they are in their starting years, when they are in school in their class 11 and 12, what are the streams and subjects that they should opt for to make sure that they are best equipped to become a financial analyst professionally?
Commerce, accounts, economics if you have economics, mathematics, and computing with English. I know at class 11 you need 5 subjects, so you can probably choose what you can. To my mind, commerce, you need accounts, you will need computers, you need maths. This is there is no way out on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'd also like to know what are the various avenues within financial analysts which tend to be unexplored and as a result are unsaturated, and how can commerce enthusiasts find out these opportunities that entail this particular field?
Please understand that the world outside is extremely competitive. What you are trying to aim for, somebody else will have already tried it 5 times over. So there's no shortcut to hard work and there's no shortcut to perseverance, right? So that's one. Second thing is that once you have these basic skills, how you can build a career in financial services, there are various aspects that you can lead to, right? So the best money and the most successful path in a financial services is sales job, right? Now, sales brings in the mullah, it brings in the money, and it's the most satisfying part of the job. Having said that, there are various aspects of that. There is for institutions and for hedge funds and private equity, hedge funds, you can do sales and trading. There is a path in private equity. There's a path in venture capital. There's a path in hedge funds. Then, and I'm not saying that there's any pecking order. It's a matter of personal interest, right? It could be investment banking. It could be asset management. It could be wealth management. It could be being a chartered accountant. It could be, in forensics. It could be an audit role. It could be transactional banking. It could be corporate finance. Aim to get into a top institution with the right subjects. But by the time you finish your courses, you will, as kids, you'll start building an idea, touch and feel of where you want to go, right? And the only place to start is that, you should go apply for the best of institutions. Log on to every big institution has a career website. They hire financial analysts, apply for that role, and take it from there. Your aim right now should be you have the relevant subjects, get good grades, and crack a top university internationally. Once you finish that 3-4 year program, you will have better sense of what you guys want to do. And then that's not the only program. When you may want to go, suppose you get into a big bank like a Citibank or like a JP Morgan or one of the fund houses to do an analyst role. You may like it, you may not like it, or your thinking may evolve, and you say in that you may want to build a specialization. It's an evolution. It's an evolutionary journey. It does not happen overnight. But stay on course, and you will find your calling.
Thank you, sir. Could you please elucidate on how you can become better than your competition, which you just mentioned right now, that you shouldn't actually worry about your competition rather than making yourself more competent?
So 2 things, very simple. Knowing your subject in and out. If I wake you up at midnight and ask you a question, the answer that you should know your answer without even having to refer something. Second thing is that being honest to yourself, right? If you don't know, tell yourself, I don't know, I need to get there, right? And please understand that shortcuts are not for the world. The shortcuts are only for yourself. It is to shy away and run away from yourself. So, at the end of the day, who do you lie to? You lie to yourself. So if you're true to yourself, there's no way you'll be less than anyone else.
Thank you. So that applies to not just financial analysis.
Anything, any role in any profession across the world, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, whatever.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that answer and for helping us understand that. I'd also like to know that do you think that the need for financial analysts will grow in the future, and what is the scope of financial analysts in regard to conventional careers?
You must understand, Roman, there are 4 aspects of human life, right? And which is bread, which is roti, clothing, kapda, makan, which is thing, and paisa, right? So these will always remain green in some form or the other, right? So this is not a field that is going to go away. It's only going to evolve. It's only going to stay competitive. So there will be extreme compliances, but it's rewarding. It's a rewarding career in its own way.
So could you please let us know certain misconceptions which are being brought out being a financial analyst?
First, when you say financial analyst, people think that I want to become an accountant. I want to become a chartered accountant. The natural progression is that you do a chartered accountancy. No, it's not. The financial analysis is a very in-depth industry, but then there are various routes to specialization within that. So it's not an accountant's job, and it's not about just that you'll be sitting with a bunch of files and papers trying to look at numbers.
How can a person weave a career from being an analyst to that in the financial services as an industry? Could you please help us understand that in a better way?
So once you during the course of the graduation process, you will get exposed to the various aspects of the financial services industry. Then as you go work as an analyst normally the 3-year program for various institutions. And as you start continue to work there, you will realize that you will find your own interest in calling. It comes naturally, right? Let me explain this colloquially in other terms. It's like saying everybody wants to become a doctor. Then at a specialization level, do you want to become a heart specialist or an eye surgeon? That's something that you will only know after you've gone through the process. So it happens. It's an evolution process. It's an interest process, and it happens over time.
Okay, so throughout our conversation, you've reiterated on the fact that education is quite essential to becoming a financial analyst, formal education. So, what exactly is required, or what are the prerequisites or degrees that are required to become a proper financial analyst?
It's not about degree. It's about an analytical mind and the need for you to understand numbers. Where computing becomes important is that a lot of financial analysis is today driven by AI and machine language. So you need to learn the new ways to do it. But it's not about degree. People from science side come and become financial analysts and they do a great job. People from journalism come back and make a great analyst. It's about an analytical mind and how you build upon it. What helps is that if you have subjects in mathematics, business, and computing as the core.
Okay, thank you, sir. And with that, we've now come to the final question that we have for you, and that is, what would be a message that you would like to share to all aspirants who want to pursue financial analysis as a career field in their future?
It's a very interesting field. It's a very interesting field. It's a very rewarding field, a satisfying field. But it's a desk job. A lot of time is spent in the computer. So, firstly, while you're at school, while you're finding your calling with the subject, please also find a calling with a sport, be it swimming, be it tennis, be it running, be it golf. Build an active life that is going to be with you forever, because once you want to become a financial analyst, rest assured, a large part of the day will go sitting on a chair and looking at numbers on a computer, right? So you need to stay fit, you need to stay healthy, you need to look after your mental health, and that's only possible if you have a hobby, right? Second thing is that, which a couple of points that I'd like to bring in, Roman, here, is that please be mobile internationally. There are 4 or 5 large centers across the world, and that doesn't mean that that's the end of the world. There are financial service centers across the world, but one should be open to working right from New York to Japan, and not say that, look, I don't like China and I don't know what will I do in China, I don't eat Chinese food. So that's the other question, that one has to be flexible with cultures. So one has to be flexible with eating habits. And I'm not saying that a vegetarian should start eating non-vegetarian food, but there is Japanese vegetarian food, there's Chinese vegetarian food. One has to grow an international palate if you want to be an international executive and build a career in the international level. You can't live off dal roti for all your life. Yeah. That's one. Second thing is that grooming is very important. And this is something that I coming from especially kids, is that today presentation, how you dress, how you talk, your shoes should be well polished, your hair should be well done. Nobody in the financial services industry, nobody needs a cricketer look with cropped up hair and a big beard. There are certain industry standards that are there. People don't mind it, but you need to present in a responsible fashion, right? So that's very, very important. I would say a couple of things, simple thing, dress well, smell well, you don't have to, and those are things which go very, very important in your presentation in a room. It helps you empower your personality. When you're making a presentation, if you are well groomed, people look at you and they are willing to open to your suggestions and ideas. On the contrary, if you are haggard, people make opinions, right? And those opinions people make early on. So it's important that's there. And as a last point, I'd again reiterate 2 things before you go. Please pick up a hobby. Please pick up a sport. Whether you want to go to the gym, whether you want to swim, whether you want to run, whether you want to play tennis, swim, whatever, right? Mental health will become an extremely important because a financial analyst job at a senior level is also, anything to do with financial services is also a very stressful job. So you will need to take out a few hours for yourself and just to refresh yourself day in and every day.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing these nuggets of knowledge. We're incredibly grateful to you for giving up your valuable time to us and helping us understand financial analysis as a professional field.